That's how you stop diving and people flopping.
I knew he had the drive, I knew he had the ambition that we sort of needed.
Most clubs would be like, we'll take him if he's fit.
One of the top couple of players in the league, there's no doubt about it.
They could start the tradition and be nice.
Then out of nowhere, Ange just goes,
have a go.
Oh, that is special. Unbelievable. This, ladies and gentlemen, is football.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Total A-Leagues. I'm Vince Regari, joined as always by these blokes, Tommy Orr, Daniel McBreen. Boys, we have a premiere finally.
We do.
It's finally happened. Didn't seem like anyone wanted to take it, but with a little bit of help from up the road, the Newcastle Jets have done it. How bloody good, Macca?
Oh, fantastic. What a season. No one would have said this. I don't even think Millsy, even in his private room, would have said this at the start of the season, that they'd have 2 trophies already in their bag and another one potentially to come. Fantastic story.
Yeah. We'll ask him shortly. He's on the show. We'll be talking to him in a few minutes' time. So looking forward to that. The newly minted premiership coach. I'm not that shocked that he's done it, although, you know, you look at this squad and they've shown up a lot of A-League clubs, Tommy, in terms of what they've done with the young players and cast. We were talking before, it reminds me a lot of the Mariners a few years ago.
That's right.
With a team that no one thought could do anything, did everything.
Well, that's right. I think these regional clubs, you know, in terms of resources, they're battling uphill against the juggernauts of the league, and it just makes what he's achieved all the more impressive. And given the young talent that he's brought through as well, I just think he's gone about it in a great way. That's a great way for Australian football.
Yeah. Well, give us your moment of the round. Just go on, please, bro.
Very, very topical. And, Eli Adams, 2 goals against his former club to obviously get them the Premier's plate. And I love the nonchalance of both celebrations when he scored 2 times as well. But what a season he's having. 7 goals now, 3 assists. And, this one at the end, obviously, to clinch it, very composed from the penalty spot. And, I think that it was such a significant point for them, given Auckland dropped points to the Mariners, and a great moment for that club.
He's got a great celebration manner about him, I think, Eli Adams. Yeah. Nonchalance is the right word.
He's a very quiet character, isn't he? So his celebrations are always a little bit understated, but they make a good impact.
They do.
But the pressure on that penalty in one of the last few minutes of the game, knowing that if he doesn't score that, it's actually in Auckland's hand, because if Auckland then went and win both games, they could have beaten them. So that was huge for him to step up.
They've done it a few times, actually, in the last few weeks, the late minute equalisers as well. So it's they keep finding a way.
Resilience.
They do. They do.
Which leads us to your moment, Macca.
Yeah, look, well, I've got to go with the Mariners, helping their little brothers up the road, going away and beating Auckland in Auckland. I think they've got the best record at Go Media Stadium for any team outside of Auckland. And they got the job done, which handed it to Newcastle, the Premier's plate. And Warren Moon was, particularly his comments were he said they were a little bit disrespected that they should go out and lose this game so the Jets couldn't win. And he pointed out, he said, the Mariners have won more trophies than Newcastle and Auckland put together, so don't disrespect them. 6 grand finals, 3 wins, 3 premierships, an AFC Cup. He's right.
It's true, and I think nobody expected that result. But do you think, conversely to the Mariners, do you think it's a little bit of a worrying time for Auckland? Because, given their injury crisis, it does feel like, not the wheels have come off, that's way too drastic, but it's not been the same Auckland that we've seen before at a crucial junction.
There's a chink in that Black Knights armour now. Yeah. Last year, we didn't see it till the finals, but now you see there's a few chinks and a few open spots.
Yeah. My moment of the round is me. Check out this video, a little prediction we did before last week's show.
I'm not good at predictions, but I think that's going to be a draw. And then I think Auckland are going to smash the Mariners over there. So it's not going to happen this weekend.
And this is Warren Moon's Instagram story posted after that 1-0 win to Auckland. Warren, a couple of things. One, I think the first words you heard me say in that video are, I'm not very good at predictions. I also think predictions are completely dumb in Australian football particular. Because this competition, it's so hard to predict. I don't do tipping. Any predictions make you look like an idiot in advance, and I don't think I look like an idiot there. I actually think I served Australian football quite well there. Not only did I help the Mariners get a win, but I also helped Newcastle clinch the Premier's plate. So, Warren, you're welcome.
So,
all good.
I must say, you both love blowing your own horn because... this happened a few weeks ago.
I get them right.
Yeah.
He gets them wrong.
Yeah, but I declare in advance. So, what I'm about to say is probably rubbish, but here you go. And it was, and it helped someone. I'm all about helping people, mate. I'm all about helping the game.
Yeah.
Didn't help Auckland, though.
Well, they're Kiwis, so not my concern. Time to welcome our guest for this week, the newly crowned Premiership coach of the Newcastle Jets, Mark Milligan. Millsy, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time and congratulations on the achievement, mate. This would have been exactly what you were aiming for at the start of this pre-season. But are you surprised at all that it's been able to happen this quickly for you?
Firstly, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Of course. It's you plan for the best, and obviously you hope all things fall in place. But I'm not surprised in the sense that from sort of the first day, the attitude and the buy-in from the players, has been fantastic. So from that sense, I'm not surprised that they've been able to achieve what they have achieved so far. Not to take away from still what is there, what's available for this group to go and achieve. Like I said, of course, you sort of look back and, in many senses, it has been a whirlwind. But again, like I said, I can't fault, the players' attitude and their desire from the very, very beginning because we've tested them in so many ways. And, up until now, they've responded in every sense.
Millsy, congratulations, mate. A huge achievement for you personally in your first year as a manager as well. I want to ask you, though, when you first took over the Jets, so did you kind of have like a preconceived way that you wanted to play, or was it more that you had ideas and when you saw the kind of profile of the players you had at your disposal that you kind of refined it into what we're seeing now? Because, I always find that an interesting question because now, next year, if you're still there, you're obviously going to have players leave, and it's how do you navigate, players with different attributes, and is it them having to adjust to your style or meeting in the middle?
It's a good question, Tommy. Obviously, when we first spoke for a long time since I've wanted to be a head coach, I've had a pretty specific way that I thought, especially in Australia, the game would be successful, a way of playing where I felt would be successful. And once I started speaking to the Jets, obviously I start to look then closer at the personnel that we're going to be staying. Obviously, we moved on quite a few players at the start of the year as well. And it was important that sort of at that time, even though we released 9 or 10 players, that was the start of the transformation for me because I brought in 4 players ultimately. The rest were filled by us spending time watching the youth team, watching young boys play. But in terms of the actual playing style, once I saw the squad and the ones that were going to be staying, players like Rumour and at the time, Tommy Aquilina at the start of the year, I definitely adjust a little bit in terms of utilising those strengths. But it's about, for me, Tommy, it's about, yes, I have a way of playing, but it wasn't to be dismissive of the players and not give them the opportunity to show me that they're able to do it and not give them the opportunity to become better players, to fit into what I want to do as well. And like I said, that takes time, and there were a lot of questions sort of asked along the way because even though we had a sort of a good cup run, when those sort of tough results happen early on in the season, there's definitely questions there around the way that we're doing things, the football that we're playing, whether it suits the players that we have. And look, I think, like I said, I have such a strong belief in how I think and what football should look like in Australia and how I think it should be played in terms of not just being successful, but being, entertaining as well, that I was able to sort of stick to that. And like I said, when the players sort of understood that wasn't shifting, then that's when we really started to see their development and their buy-in and their ownership of the football.
Millsy, well done. Congratulations, mate. Couple of cups already, one more to go. In a perfect world, when you go into a management position, you've got this huge budget where you can go and get the players and say, right, this is who I want this. And that perfect world probably doesn't exist in Australia. So you mentioned going and watching the youth team and the academy space. How important is that, especially in our environment in Australia? And how important is that going forward for you and that link between the first team and that academy space?
Yeah, it's massive. Like I said, this wasn't just something that I thought would be or how Newcastle should do things. This is something that I think Australian football in general should sort of operate. And, a key thing for me, Macca, moving forward is that I want to leave something. I want to build something here that's going to be sustainable over time. I think Australian football, you mentioned it there. There's not many sort of clubs, if any, that can sort of really go out and buy a winning team. We want something that's going to be here for years to come. And like I said, this vision was something that I've had for quite a while. I've seen it firsthand as a player to a degree in this country. And again, it's not just me sort of going and watching the youth being played. Yes, that is a massive, massive part of it, but it's my staff as well. And look, I can't sort of deny the fact either, Macca, that I'm in a fortunate position that I have quite a good network of people who I can sort of talk to and who I trust, around the country that are, watching players and dealing with players regularly, that when they recommend something, I can take it seriously. But again, like I said, in the long run for me, that's the only way forward for our country. Yes, so important that we're able to get, these experienced foreigners in and even get home experienced Australian players, because at the end of the day, yes, I can help players, I can teach them, I can try to help develop them, but they're going to take more or just as much from the players that are in the change room with them. And if we're able to get that sort of core of the team right, that base of the team, in terms of in Newcastle, what it looks like is people that understand the region, players that have come through the game here. They know what the fans want. They know what the expectations are. If we can get that right, then it's much easier to sort of get the foreigners right or get those more experienced players right. Because like I said, Macca, the young ones take as much from them on a daily basis as they do from me or my staff.
Millsy, one of the more experienced players in your squad, Max Burgess, for many years thrilled and probably frustrated Sydney FC fans for a little bit. Some of them were wondering why he didn't have a more prominent role there, and clearly they let him go in the off-season. What did you see in his playing ability, but also his personality, that convinced you that he could be a really big part of what you're trying to build?
Yeah, look, I've obviously played against Maxi. I've known Maxi for a long time. And he was just sort of a player that I always sort of kept an eye on, especially after I finished playing. Look, I just think his personality on the field, it looked to me from the outside sort of looking in that he was someone that would fit into what I wanted to do. And like I said, he has a lot of attributes. And this is probably not a great one to bring up, but I remember a few years ago for Sydney FC, there was one particular challenge he made in the corner. Can't remember who they were playing. And he ended up getting sent off for it. But little things like that, like there was no malicious, it wasn't malicious, it wasn't violent or anything like that, but you just saw that winning attitude that he had in him and that drive that he had. And you look at players like that who are coming off such a tough season, and he was just someone that I wanted to speak to. And after speaking to him, mate, after one conversation, I knew he had the personality, I knew he had the drive, I knew he had the ambition that we sort of needed in the middle of the park especially, and that ambition to lead what we wanted to do in terms of bringing through the young ones.
Millsy, you've obviously spoken about Max Burgess. You mentioned potential Socceroos ability for him a few weeks ago. And with the World Cup on the horizon, is the likes of Clayton Taylor, Eli Adams, I mean, for me, I think they should be in the discussion of getting in and around that squad. Is there anybody else in your squad that you think has done enough to potentially be looked at?
Look, I think at the moment, with what they've sort of achieved and what they've done, they should all be looked at equally. Like you said, you mentioned there, Clayton Taylor, Eli Adams. We've just recently seen sort of Bayless be rewarded with a New Zealand national team call-up. A couple of our young boys in Dobbo and Maxi Cooper going into the 20s. And I think players like Bert Alicia have been fantastic this year as well. I think he has all the attributes, whether that's now or moving forward, to be in those kinds of discussions. But like I said, mate, I think we've seen them come in leaps and bounds, mate, because I think we're not only seeing the best of them, but we're seeing that how much they still have to grow and how quickly that's happening as well. And like I said, that's down to them, mate. That's down to the work that they do every day. And that's what we want to create. We want to create an environment where we can improve them individually as well, because we knew that if we were able to get 1%, 2%, 3% out of them individually, sort of each month, each 2 months, then that growth will only help continue to grow for the team. So that's been one of the main focuses. I want these boys to be ambitious individually, and I know they are, because they're starting to voice that now, and I think you're starting to see it in their performances as well. For such a young group, if we just look back to the Melbourne Victory game, for me, that was a very, very mature performance.
Millsy, so you talk about mature performances. You've got a big F3 derby coming up this week. A little bit of a celebration, but I know you guys are going to go out there and want to win, obviously. But we know finals football can be a different beast. How do you get this young group of guys to maybe switch that mentality to finals football? How do you get that across to them? Because it is a different beast to the normal season.
It is a different beast, Macca, but that's probably, the biggest thing that we've tried to do from the very beginning. We've tried to put them into that mentality. They shouldn't have to switch now into finals football, because we've tried to challenge them every single day. We've tried to create an environment where there's consequences to what they do. And, the intensity that we play at, and it's been sort of well documented over, especially the last few weeks, since people really, I guess, started picking up on it. But that intensity has been designed, that football has been designed to play in finals. I think you saw it in the cup run in terms of how we went about things, and this is no dissimilar. The finals football ultimately is cup football. And it's what I wanted to do was create an environment for these players where there's always consequences, because in finals football, it's, like you said, it can be different if you're not used to that environment, if you're not used to those sort of pressures, where I want them to be brave all the time. So in finals football, when I tell them to go forward and there's consequences, I know they're going to do it, because they've got that mentality to not take a backward step, to always go forward. And that's where we get to test teams to see how strong their resolve is in what they do.
Millsy, last one from us, and look, we know you're ambitious personally, and we also know that your answer to this question is probably going to be, we're focusing on what's in front of us and no further, but I'll ask anyway. You've got one more year of contract at the Jets. Will you see that out and test these players further in Asia, which is an opportunity that you've earned, or do you think you've built enough in terms of your own personal resume that you can pivot overseas on the back of what you've built here at Newcastle?
Look, this year for us was always, very much a first phase, and we really wanted to start the process and start to develop the football that we want to play. From the very beginning, as you said there, I signed for 2 years, and my plan was 2 years. And like I said, we've started to develop, we've started to get to a good place. Obviously we've started planning for pre-season. I think the ACL Elite is a massive reward for the club and for the fans, and they should be very, very excited about it, because I'm extremely excited to go into Asia. That's, like I said, not just a big test for our players, it's a big test for me and my staff. And I think that, like I said, slowly, without dismissing what's coming up, there's definitely plans in the background to start preparing for that. And the way that we go about things now, will definitely lead into the team that we become next year, because as I said from the very beginning, who we were when we played in the cup final to who we were at Christmas to who we are now is very, very different. And we will continue to grow and we will continue to develop. And as I said, we're still a long way off the team that I envision us being.
I think we're all pretty happy to hear that, Millsy. So we'll let you go. Congratulations again. Good luck for this weekend in the final series, and we'll catch you soon.
Thank you so much. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, Millsy.
Cheers, Millsy.
Enjoyed that chat, boys, and happy to hear. It doesn't sound like a bloke who's not going to be moving anytime soon, which is good. I want to see the next iteration of this team, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's always the danger, is when it comes really quickly what they've set out to achieve, that people might go, well, we've ticked that and move on. The ACL Elite has given them here's another way to test ourselves. So it's good to hear. Hopefully they can build on this year and just continue it on and set things in, like he said, for long term for this club. Long after he's gone, he's left something that they can continue to push down the road.
And I think as well, if I'm an attacking player in the league who's off contract or leaving my club, who doesn't want to go and play for Millsy at the Jets? I mean, that's a place where you can show the best of yourself. It's clear he's proven that already. So, I mean, yeah, it does seem like Macca said, he's building something very special there.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the ladder as it stands, and the glorious image of the Newcastle Jets at the top cannot be caught. A fantastic story. We can't say it enough for Australian football and what that represents, and a club that's been starved of success for many years. But looking below that, there's a lot at stake. I mean, the top six cannot change, but the order can change dramatically. Auckland could drop to third, or even,
Fourth,
possibly lower. Yeah.
Possibly fourth.
They get beat
If
3-0
Sydney
by
FC
Sydney.
beat 3-0, yeah, that's right.
So there's plenty at stake, not only in terms of finals positions, but also the news that we spoke about briefly last week, and it still hasn't been officially confirmed around the ACL Elite, but it sounds like the second highest ranked Australian team will receive a playoff spot into that tournament. So the opportunity to then cash in deluxe, as you can now in today's ACL, which is fantastic. There's still the unresolved matter of the ACL 2 spot. I think all of us hope that Heidelberg will go in there. But if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, there's still things to be won potentially in terms of qualification for other teams. So there's one more game, but so much doing.
Yeah.
And I think as well, Sydney playing Auckland and Adelaide playing City, there's a taste of finals fixtures potentially as well to follow that. And with so much on the line, it already kind of feels like the first week of finals, to be honest.
Yeah.
First, we're just going to zero in a little bit on Marcus Eunice, who has been sensational since he returned to the A-League with Melbourne City, to the point where, I did a projected Socceroos squad for the World Cup a couple of weeks ago for the Herald, and I didn't have this bloke in it, and I regret that because I think he's a real good chance, to be honest. When you consider now as well, he's possibly going to be battling it head-to-head for a spot in that squad with maybe Martin Boyle, maybe Owen Mobile, these sorts of players, and on form, you have to pick him, I think, Tommy.
Well, I think if you're looking at bolters in the A-League, and I'm not talking about your Bear Hitches or your Ocons, who I think are probably going to get in, he's top of the list. Who else? No one has been standing out as much in the last 6 months as him. We didn't know too much about him because he went overseas so early from the Wanderers. We didn't really get to see him before that, but I've been hugely impressed with him. Not only his goal return, but the energy that he plays with. And I can just imagine Popper loving the way he goes about his game.
He did well in Asian competition as well. But the other things I like about him too, like on the weekend, he had a running battle with Dimi Valkanis. So he really relished that. So I think in that sort of environment where people are trying to bully him, he rises to that. I also like the fact is we've seen him score different goals where he's higher up the pitch and he gets involved with the technical aspects, but also from deep where you think, as a Socceroos, we might be sat a little bit deeper and we want to break. He's done that so often with pace and with real skill and ability that I think that's his biggest asset that we see, that from a deep position when he gets the ball, he's willing to go and
he's powerful.
Has that speed and power to do it as well.
Even on the weekend, you saw that goal that he scored that got ruled out, the header, the way he attacked the ball, like that is someone who's just, such a physical beast. It's so difficult to stop someone like that.
Do you think Tony Popovic will pick him? Because he hasn't been in any of his squads to this point. But then I also think Popper loves a curveball, loves doing unpredictable things, and I think he justifies selection if he was to pick him. The case is there. Will he do it, though, having not been in any of his squads?
Well, I think the very minimum, we've got 26 players now, even if he's looking at him as those extra three players, those top-up three players, to give him that exposure. We spoke yesterday, Tommy, about exposure for younger players going to these competitions. You might not be looking at them to play big minutes, but to be around it, and you might see something in them and go, at training, do you know what? You are going to get thrown in, and then they can rise and shine from there.
Exactly, and I think often the World Cup too, they pick an expanded squad and then refine it after a week or two. So I think he should pick him in that expanded squad, see how he fits in, and really just throw caution to the wind and see if he lights it up at camp in the first week. Why not?
Yeah, agree. You mentioned, Tommy, Ryan Fraser. We're going to rip through a quick few A-League rumours that are going around at the moment, and the hot one around him is that he will be with Sydney FC next season. That's from Code Sports, who reported that.
Yep.
I usually am not a massive fan of people crossing the rivalry divide, particularly this one. I think it's happened too much recently and has diluted the rivalry to some extent, but I give Ryan Fraser a pass because he came in late on a short-term contract. It was clearly a bit of a trial spell to see if this is where he wanted to be, if the Wanderers was the club. If he, does he like Australia, and then does he like the club? I think from his perspective, I don't blame him for leaving, to be honest. And that sounds brutal, but like the reality is they've had an awful season. He's been one of their great, the bright sparks of it. But you look around your surroundings and you look at other places, and in this instance, the grass is greener for him. And
I think most clubs in the league would have wanted him, to be honest. From what we've seen of him in the last kind of 4 or 5 months, I think he's just lit up the whole league. He's been by far their best player in the last 4 months. And, I think he probably likes living in Sydney. And if Sydney FC gave him that option to stay, I think that's why not. And again, I think it's only going to make the derby next year even more spicy, given all the recent noise around that.
Yeah. There might not be room for Joe Lolly then at Sydney FC. That's the sort of secondary impact of this rumour, if this comes true. There were rumours about him leaving Sydney last pre-season, Macca, and he's been connected again with Perth Glory and now Macarthur FC. It's probably much closer to the end of his career than the start, but is that a good move for him if Sydney decide to move him on?
Well, Tommy said this plenty of times before. You can only look at what's been put in front of you, and all we know at the moment is the rumour is Macarthur and Perth, and for him, he has to weigh up what's the best opportunity for him if Sydney isn't the option anymore. who are we to say? It's usually hindsight when you can say whether it was a good move or not, isn't it? It's hard to predict up front. I think he could fit well in most A-League teams. And he's like Ryan Fraser. Most clubs would be like, we'll take him if he's fit.
I think the only question mark is exactly what you said, if he's fit. I think there is a little bit of an injury cloud given his age as well, and he has had a kind of torrid run. But when he's on the field, he's one of the top couple of players in the league. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the fixtures for the final round of the home and away season. This is what's coming up this weekend. Plenty at stake. We spoke about the implications of the ladder as well, but the Golden Boot race is pretty tight. Sam Cosgrove, 11 of Auckland, leading it. Eze is not far behind him, 1 goal behind on 10. Tommy, which of these games are you absolutely plonking yourself on the couch and putting Do Not Disturb mode on your phone for?
Well, I think it's the bottom two. We spoke about them before, but Sydney against Auckland and Melbourne City against Adelaide, there's just so much on the line for those 4 clubs, also financially, and you spoke about Asia and those types of things. So they're the games I think that everybody's going to have their eye on, and I think the results in them will have a long way in determining the results in finals too, because of the advantage of the home leg as well. So that you don't want to miss those 2 games.
Yeah. F3 Derby's going to be fun, isn't it, Macca?
Yeah, I'm calling that one, and I'm pretty glad to be on that one. It'll be a mixture of a party atmosphere, but an F3 Derby where it has that hostility because the Mariners will want to come and ruin the party, seeing as though they helped them last week. Yeah. And Millsy doesn't want to go into the finals on the back of a poor result or a poor performance, so they'll be up for it. Yeah,
sounds like a pretty close to capacity crowd is going to be there as well, which is...
fantastic. So it should be.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Bloody oath, completely agree. Now let's have a look at Juan Mata, who had a golf day last week with... And tell me, this would never... If I told you, 2 years ago that this would happen, this assortment of names is impossible to fathom. But with Glenn Maxwell, Aaron Finch and Max Rushdon. So here's what they got up to.
Okay, my short game is unbelievable.
Okay, let's see that. My putting is great. So we're sorted.
Oh, that is so bad. That is so bad for both of us.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Go.
Shot, great shot, great touch.
But after you've won the World Cup, is it quite hard to motivate yourself to do anything?
It's a good shot.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit. That's a
great
really
shot.
Good shot. Do you know what I mean?
It was quite early in my career, so I needed to get 22.
Yeah, you can't give up.
So I needed to keep going.
It would have been punchy to retire then, wouldn't it? Oh, that's nice. Whoa. This for glory, Juan Mata. Oh, go on! That's dead straight.
Isn't golf ridiculous that you can, you could stand on the penalty spot at Old Trafford in front of 60,000, and be completely calm.
Yeah, and then you are in the first tee, your first shot.
Exactly. In front of 6 people.
Yeah.
Good stuff, and well done to Max Rushdon for conning his way into that game of golf. Hope you had fun. As we welcome Narlene back to the desk. How are you, mate?
Good, how are you guys?
Living the dream.
Amazing to hear. Well, let's kick it off with a bit of an interesting talking point that we've come up with, and it's about Guard of Honours. So we know that the Mariners picked up that 1-0 win against Auckland FC. They were very much hit by the realisation it meant they handed their rivals Newcastle Jets the Premier's plate. So should they do a Guard of Honour this weekend? Now, it has happened in the past. Newcastle actually did one for Sydney FC when they won the Premiership. This was back in 2017. Now, albeit they're not rivals, but it was a nice sign of respect. But there's also been a case where a coach in Kevin Muscat said, we are absolutely not doing one for Sydney FC the following season. So I'm interested to hear from you guys. Should we see the Mariners do a Guard of Honour for the Jets this weekend?
Haven't they done enough?
They gave them the Premiership.
Yeah, let me put it this way. If the Mariners chose not to do it, I don't think Newcastle would care. Yeah. But I don't see anything wrong with doing it. Even though they're rivals, you're acknowledging a great achievement. And, if the roles were reversed, I think the exact same thing would apply. So I don't think the players care too much, to be honest.
If it was tradition, if it had happened every year, of course. But it's not really a tradition here, is it? They could start the tradition and be nice.
I don't mind the idea of enforcing it, because we're always thinking about how can we make the Premier's plate more prominent. in terms of in Australia when we have a final series. I think it's a fantastic carrot for any winning team to know that if you can win this as early as possible, then you could have 7 weeks in a row, for instance, where your opponents are all forced to give you a guard of honour. Nah, I rate this.
It would be funny if you get to choose the game where they give it. So you'd obviously choose the derby game.
But wasn't there somewhere where they all turned their back as they went through? In Argentina, where one team were forced to do it, like you've just said, and they all turned their back and it caused a huge outrage. And that's probably what I would have done.
The funniest one was Arsenal doing it for Man United when they won the title, and they just had Van Persie, who had obviously left the club. Mate, good on you. Thanks for winning the title with our rivals. Interested to see. It probably won't happen, but hey, let us know in the comments if you think it should. Now we're on to some pretty recent controversial moments, again, with some fouls. Red card, not a red card. It's a big talking point. So just this weekend in that Auckland game, I don't know if you saw this, it went pretty viral online, but Sam Cosgrove, right, he hit the ground, but then James Donaghy kind of steps over him a bit. Now, this was checked for a red card. The reason it wasn't given is because they said his eyesight was sort of looking forward.
No peripheral vision. Donaghy's known for having no peripheral vision whatsoever.
No sense of what's happening around him. Did he get away with one there?
There wasn't much force, I think, that you've got to say that. Although it was maybe cheeky, and I know what defenders are like, I think he knows what he's doing, but I think at the last minute, we spoke about it, he might have hesitated and I don't think he was hurt.
It wasn't a fool's... I don't want to say exactly what he was thinking. I think he was thinking, I can get away with one here. And as he put his foot on him, he went, I better not stamp on him. And he pulled his foot off, maybe, just in time. But when we talk about yellow and red cards, and sometimes you say that's orange, that is like 99% red and 1% orange. I think he got away with it.
I agree. And I think we could see a bloke in the midst of experiencing preemptive regret as that was happening.
But we also, at the end of the game, the coaching staff from Auckland said if that was on the other shoe, was on the other foot, we would have definitely seen a red card. Wind back to Cosgrove stamping on a Sydney player earlier in the year, which was even more obvious.
That was worse.
He didn't get booked. He got away with it. So it all evens out in the end.
Yeah.
Well, Mac, you were quite vocal about this one. Seb Despotovsky didn't happen this weekend, but for Perth Glory, there was a situation here where you could say a foul or penalty should have been given in that instance, but he continued playing on. What was your take? Do you think the ref didn't give it because he didn't go to ground?
Yes, 100%. And we're trying to stamp diving and falling down out of the game. But if you're not going to give a foul for someone or a penalty for a guy who was clearly impeded and did his best to stay on his feet to keep the game going, then you're asking them. And Mossy even said in the call, I believe, if he went down, he would have got a pen. Owners shouldn't be on the player. We're trying to get that out of the game. So referees need to be brave and go, he was impeded, it stopped him doing what he wanted to do, give the foul. That's how you stop diving and people flopping.
Completely agree.
Yeah, what that bloke said.
Nothing else to add to that. Completely agree.
All right, well, let's see if you agree with this one. So Ryan Grant, two-footed, a strong challenge. Emphasis on strong here. Straight on poor Sam Sutton. Again, is this one that he got away with?
I think this was a red card. And look, I know Rhino, I don't think he ever goes in to hurt our player. We know he wouldn't. But the way he goes in, it's reckless, and it's the speed he goes in at. He doesn't have control of his body.
Look at the divot.
It's so easy for the opposition player to get very seriously injured in that challenge. And Sydney FC would say, but he got the ball. But that's only part of the story.
That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
He got the ball.
Yeah.
When he launched with his 2 feet in the air, he's automatically there. He's lost control. He's gone with studs first, and there was contact with the foot. He was lucky.
Yeah. He got the grass too. I mean, the Allianz Stadium doesn't need any assistance when it comes to the state of the turf. So hopefully they managed to stamp that one back in Max Rushton on the golf course style.
Well, I'll tell you what also happened over the weekend. Seagulls at Amy Park. Name a more iconic combination here. I mean...
I thought you were going to say duo, because there's a few more than that. I couldn't believe this.
I was going to say duo, and I quickly switched to combo.
Wow.
Okay, we see this usually, frequently, right, with the Seagulls there, but this caught fire around the world of people just in utter disbelief about how many seagulls swamped to the pitch here. Yeah. What was your initial thoughts when you saw this? Because clearly someone had
normally
thrown
there's that thing going off that scares them away. It mustn't have been working, but we've seen these days we see so many players getting around a free kick discussing what's going to happen. The Seagulls just went, we want a piece of this. We don't actually talk about.
I reckon they were saying like, yeah, have a go. Don't worry about it.
And also back in the day, moths completely flooding Newcastle.
Queensland.
This was absolutely insane. I mean, there was actually like a news package on it about how they were all breeding, and it just, again, completely took over the match here. Where
this used to happen a lot in Brisbane too, at
did,
Suncorp Stadium. Like I remember a few times when I used to live back up there that I was just like, you'd be a little bit worried walking out after a game or going anywhere near like the floodlights because you dead set feel like you could swallow a moth.
And I remember there was a game with the Socceroos. It was the Asian Cup, the group game against Korea, and I remember we're on the field inspecting the field before the game, and it was exactly the same situation. There was so many moths, and I remember, I think one of the boys was like, "What does the go with these moths?" And out of nowhere, Ange just goes, "Oh yeah, Maury opened his wallet," and it was for him to say that, no one expected it. It was very funny.
That's very good. Also, the iconic cat at Cooper Stadium. I mean, that poor fella was just trying to get out of there. And, we've also seen a dog actually in the A-League women's competition last season.
Nice jump.
Yeah.
Nah, still people.
Nothing to cling on to there with the digital signage. I think it's very difficult for a cat.
Yeah.
Poor fella's
Exactly.
absolutely
terrified.
Yeah.
What is it with animals in this league, though?
You know what? Keep it calming, honestly. Next animal, what's next? I saw a fox the other day on the street.
Oh.
A baby fox, which was
Maybe that's the next one.
quite terrifying. Yeah, bring him in.
Yeah, sus as. I reckon don't bring foxes into the A-League, in my opinion. That's just me, though. Thank you very much, Narlene. Thank you, boys. Thank you at home for watching. We'll catch you next week on Total A-Leagues.